This reading is going to be for everyone who has been feeling directionless, lost, confused, unclear, unsure, or if you've just been saying, I don't know a lot. Those are the vibes, okay? Then this reading is for you. This lack of direction, lack of purpose, this lack of clarity, it's not like a failing on your part. It's not because you failed, it's not because you've messed up. It's it's a very particular type of energy. It is like a pocket of energy that you are in. So it's almost like you are inside of a cloud or inside of a well, or you're just basically in this moment where clarity and purpose and direction, they're not meant to be clear to you at this exact second. You're just not in a pocket of energy that is focused on linear direction, or that is focused on clear answers, or that is it's not about that right now. It's not about that right now. So there's nothing wrong with feeling lost, confused, or directionless. And the sooner you can really realize, oh, this is just the moment that I'm in. This is just the phase that I'm in. It's just part of the cycle, and it will pass. And, direction and purpose and clarity and answers and solutions, all those things are absolutely coming, because the wheel will keep on turning and I will get to the next part of the cycle. So this is absolutely a timeless message. This will sync up with you whenever you're in this moment. For those of you who watch it when I post it, it's Pisces season. I'm recording this when we are in between two eclipses. And Mercury is, as we speak, stationing retrograde in Pisces. So this is just not a moment for linearity and clear direction and clear purpose. This is a moment for dissolution. Okay, this is a moment for dissolution. And that's okay. That's an important part of the cycle. First card out, Six of Earth Guardians. That would be the Six of Pentacles. The African Plains. It's even card number 69. The reason this is making me laugh is, for the past, honestly, I think it's been almost a year at this point, the Six of Pentacles has been kind of coming out as this, it's like meant as this card of encouragement to let you know and to remind you that that assistance that you have been hoping for is coming. That just, when you just need the universe to just give you a break, that break is coming. When you just need something to come through for you, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And what's really good here is that normally when I have to pass on that type of message, I get a lot of frustration from it, because of course we've all been there and we've heard that message a million times, and then nothing comes of it, and it's just so frustrating, and it can be infuriating, right? But I'm not actually getting that at this moment, so I feel like you've settled into a certain type of wisdom here, or maybe you've just completely stopped looking for help and assistance and guidance. Maybe you've completely stopped looking for, you've stopped, maybe it can feel like you've stopped hoping for a miracle, and you've stopped thinking that anyone will ever help you, which, that can feel a little bit not great when the thoughts skew that way. But it's just this feeling of, it'll come when it comes, and I'll be here doing my own thing when it does, and I'll be grateful when it shows up. But if it doesn't show up, then whatever, I will continue on as I am. It's that type of feeling here. So, however you feel about the idea of help is on its way, it is still on the agenda, right? It is still on its way. Maybe some of you even had something click into place like today or yesterday, something really recent where it was like, wow, yeah, that was I really needed that. I really needed that to come through, right? I really needed that to come through. That was good. But there might even you might even be wondering like, was that even a good thing? Like imagine I don't know. Simple example, right? You need money, you need money, you need money. Somebody offers you $1,000 and you take it because you need it, but at the same time you feel pretty unsure about that. You're like, was that even the right thing to do? Was this even a good thing? And you could feel even a little bit like ambiguous or ambivalent, right? You might even be feeling ambivalent about getting that assistance or getting that help or getting that wish come true. You could feel ambivalent about it. And that's the strange thing about this really pervasive feeling of lack of direction, lack of purpose, lack of clarity, lack of answers, lack of solutions is it's this feeling of I don't even know what's good anymore. And even when I see something that's good, I don't even know if it's good because it could end up being bad. And the bad thing could end up being good. And it's this really like, I don't know what's true. I don't know what's good. I don't know what is right. And it's just very much this lacking of direction. This like clarity of direction. And so the bigger thing here with like what is with this like when you feel like you don't even know what's true and you don't even know what's right, you don't even know what's good, what is going on with that? It is the dissolution of your navigational systems. That is not bad. It is part of the moment. It is important to have a navigational reset. And so the thing is that this particular navigational reset, it's going to take a little bit of time. Like it could be a few weeks, could be a few months. I don't think this will go on for longer than 3 months. For some people, it could be, just a few weeks. And I mean, really, it could just be 3 minutes, but that's the general feeling of this is like a little bit of a longer, slower process. Sometimes you might feel like this for like a day or a few hours, but this is a little bit of a longer process because it's that deep and that profound. It is that much of a significant piece of energy work that you are doing, right? This is a very significant piece of energy work that you are doing. And really knowing that will, hopefully give you at least a little bit of idea of that, like, oh, okay, like I can just see this through, right? I can just wait this out. I can just allow this moment to be as it is. And that's okay, right? That's okay. I don't need to get too freaked out about feeling like this. I don't need to worry about feeling like this. I can just allow this feeling to be for now, and it's going to shift out sooner or later, right? So that's what I kind of mean here. But in terms of this navigational reset, like I wanted to talk about it in terms of the dissolution of narratives. Okay, the dissolution of narratives, because that is a big part of it, but that's only part of it. Like I'm really starting to see that more and more. But let me talk a little bit about the dissolution of narratives. So, because this is important, and this is the part that you might notice the most. So, especially if you're feeling confused, like, I don't know what I want, I don't know what I should do, I don't know what direction I should go in, I don't even know, like, how I should be feeling, I don't know how I should be tackling this. That is the dissolution and the unwinding and the rewriting even, but it's like, of all of the stories you used to tell yourself. And my last video was kind of responding to a bunch of emails I've been getting from people who are really kind of starting to feel a little bit weird about the spiritual world, right? Like the way people talk about spirituality, the way the things that people believe, or even the things that they themselves used to believe, and now they're changing their mind, right? People are having like their spirituality is shifting and changing, and so you can go listen to that if you're interested in that. But I just wanted to say that that's even part of this, because the stories you've been telling yourself for many years, they're starting to unwind, and you're going to be... there's something that you're experiencing mentally, right? So you're going to have to observe the thoughts inside of your head, observe the conversations you have with yourself inside of your own head, and think about what kind of thoughts make you angry, what kind of thoughts make you want to argue with it, what kind of thoughts make you want to go, I don't really think that's true, or that doesn't make sense to me, or there's got to be a better way. All of those thoughts that you have, those stories that you have, those narratives in your own mind that you're kind of taking up issue with, it's because those are coming up to be dissolved, right? Those are being dissolved. And that's a good thing, because it's going to be time for some new stories. And look at this. Number 20 with flying high. Flying high. This horse flying through the sky. That's interesting because it was just the Lunar New Year and ushering in the year of the horse. I think it's the fire horse. And that is so much like I once heard someone describe horses as being pure emotion. Pure emotion. They're kind of like emotion in motion. Emotion in motion. And so there's like a pivot here between, in the past, you relied on a lot of stories in your mind. You relied on a lot of narratives, on a lot of explanations, on a lot of teachings, on a lot of philosophies. Like you had a type of scaffolding in your mind that you could describe with words, right? That you could verbalize. There was a lot of talk inside of your head about what was ethical, what was moral, about how the universe is structured, about the nature of consciousness, about where your soul came from, about your own soul's journey, about how to manifest, about this, and that. You had all of these narratives and structures, and you were explaining it all verbally to yourself inside of your own mind. So lots of stories, lots of narratives, lots of explanations, lots of, answers, lots of like critical theory. It's like you had this whole swirling storm of like theories in your mind. And that is not the way that you always need to be. What if there is another way to be? What if you can be, and what if you can move through your life in a way where you're not relying on those inner monologues. You're not relying on those explanations. You're not relying on those theories. You're not relying on all of those sentences repeating themselves in your head. And for some of you, like, everyone's going to have a different flavor of what those sentences inside of your head, what they said. For some people, it was really ruminating on the past. Like, this bad thing happened, and this bad thing happened, and this bad thing happened, and this bad thing happened. And then every year, here's somebody going through every year, and you like remember the days of the year where the bad thing happened. Like, on this date, that bad thing happened, and on this date, that bad thing happened, and on this date, that bad thing happened. And you just keep looping the stories, and you keep remembering the anniversaries of all the bad things that have happened to you, and you just keep carrying those and perpetuating those into the future. So for somebody, that is coming up to be dissolved. And it's not like you'll forget what happened to you, and it's not like you'll forget the anniversaries of the important days, but that doesn't need to keep running constantly in your mind as this like story that you are living inside, right? And for others of you, this can be like really moral or ethical, where you have stories about what you should do and what you shouldn't do, right? Stories about what you should do and what you shouldn't do, and constantly telling yourself about what you should do and what you shouldn't do, and what people should do and what they shouldn't do, blah, 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 right? Those stories coming up to be dissolved. Others may have really depended on a certain structure that you created for yourself, or a structure that you learned from others, right? All of these, they could be self-created, they could be absorbed from somebody outside of you, but somebody has like a set of structures. That might be how you perceive the universe. Like, if you've drawn in your mind a map of what the cosmos looks like, and like all the different dimensions, and you really like depending on like a crystallized structure, like that map. Okay, that map that you've created for yourself, or even if you have like a map about how to move through your life, like by 25 you're going to do this, and by 30 you're going to do that, and you're going to do this and that, and all these things will work out if you just do the right thing, then life will work out. Right? All of that is coming up to be dissolved. That's why this moment of dissolution is lasting a few weeks to a few months. And really, I feel like those of you who are watching this when I post it, it's probably not going to be much longer than a month. Okay. Just because of the, the astrology moving forward. All of it's coming up to be dissolved. So that's why as you feel all of this dissolving, right? As you feel all of this dissolving, as you feel all of your narratives slipping away, all of your memories slipping away, as you feel all of your ethical and moral concerns fading away, feelings all fading away, there might be an impulse to really like scramble and look around for something to replace it, right? You might be trying to replace this. Like, how could I possibly exist without this narrative? How could I possibly exist without these rules? How could I possibly exist without this structure? And here's the thing, like narratives and rules and structures and guidelines, that all will return in the future, but it's important not to try and grab at it right now, because you really want to allow this dissolution to take place. And any things that you try to grab onto right now as a replacement for that which is fading away, it's that, like, that's not going to be it, right? That's not going to be it. There's meant to be a gap here. We're in a gap. We're in a void, okay? We're moving through a void space, and we want to make the most of that void moment, so that then naturally and organically the new narratives and structures and rules will kind of arise. But even those, you're not going to attach to them like you did in the past. They're not really going to seem that interesting or that important, because you're not going to be relying on that internal monologue, like constantly telling you all of these stories and constantly reiterating all of these rules and all of these structures. Like, you will be aware of them, and you might adopt some of them as being useful tools for you in terms of how you navigate the world, but it's not going to seem like that interesting like it did before. And you're going to be more moving into this space of what I'm actually hearing is wild abandon. Wild abandon. It's this energy of being like a horse, right? It's the energy of being like a horse running through the field, wild and free. Like, imagine a wild horse, right? In a wild herd. Imagine them 1,000 years ago, right? 1,000. No, let's go even farther back. Let's go farther back. Let's go. I'm not going to give you any numbers. Just go farther back in your mind until you're at a place where you can imagine the wild horses running free across the steppe, right? That is the energy that you are going to be having moving forward. That is the energy that you're adopting. So it's very much a completely different way of being. It's very much a completely different experience of how you feel on a day-to-day basis and how you live your life. Life should start to feel very viscerally different. And and it's important that you feel it, right? This is something that I have been trying to explain, and I don't know if we literally got the awakening card. So I don't know if I've been doing a good enough job explaining this, if it gets through, or what, but there's a big difference between living your life in that mental type of way, where you're just kind of out of your body and you're just like in your mind, not even in your brain, you're like in your disembodied mind, and you're just thinking about everything all the time, and everything is just kind of run through your mind, and it doesn't really get into the body, and you don't really experience being present in your body, and you don't really experience being present in your life. Well, so that's what needs to change. This is about getting really fully present in your body, and then actually experiencing these shifts like viscerally and physically. and actually waking up in the morning and feeling different. Feeling different. Not like a different person, right? Not like you're not you, but it's just feeling, like actually feeling it, really deeply experiencing it. Like emotionally, yes, but it's not even just about feeling better. It's not just about feeling less stressed. It's not just about feeling less anxious. It's not just about feeling happier. It's knowing that now you can move through life differently than you did before. You don't need to fall into those old habits again. You can actually move through life differently. And a lot of the old habits can fall away. Not all your old habits need to fall away. Some of your old habits might be good or benign or just whatever. Some of them might still come with, but some of the old habits falling away. And you can feel it, sense it. You can sense it viscerally inside of your body that life is different now and that you are less reactive and your priorities are different, and you can actually do the things that you know you want to be doing for yourself and for your life. And it's very, 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 like, this needs to be experienced viscerally in the body. And I know I'm like repeating myself, but it's because I don't feel like I ever get that message through. And that's probably because a lot of people hearing me say that haven't actually experienced that yet, right? And it's one of those things that you only need to experience that type of shift once to know what I'm talking about and to know that it's possible. Because if you've never experienced it, if you've spent your whole life kind of disembodied, up in your mind, just in that anxious, stressed space, then you've never experienced anything else in this lifetime. And so you don't actually even have any reference point to what I'm talking about. So that's why I'm just like trying to give you some hints and clues about how you can actually fully ground into your body, and you can fully experience your life differently in a much more profound and visceral type of way, where these shifts, they're not just thoughts that change in your head. They're not just beliefs that you've shifted in your mind. It's like you are actually different, like as you are in your body, and your life becomes different, and the way you move through the way you navigate your own life becomes different. So just if that doesn't seem clear what I'm talking about, if you don't know what I'm talking about, that just means you haven't experienced anything quite like that yet. But don't worry, that is like what is next up for you, to actually have that type of very experiential shift. And as part of this dissolution moment, that's why this moment is so lacking in direction, so lacking in navigation, so lacking in clarity, because that is probably what is needed in order to dislodge and dissolve some of these old energies, because it is that hard to do it, especially if this is your first time really doing that, like successfully doing that. If you've never fully dissolved the past before, and if you've never fully stepped into the new version of your life before, then this is the first time you're doing that, and that is always the hardest time. That is always the hardest one, because you don't even know what's happening. You don't know that it's possible, and everything just seems totally like, what the hell is happening, right? That's why this awakening card came out. This is essentially a new type of spiritual awakening. Where you are awakening to yourself, right? Because a lot of time a spiritual awakening can play out like, realizing that you have a soul, or having an encounter with a higher being, right? Or astrally projecting. You can have all kinds of strange mystical experiences, and that's a type of spiritual awakening where you are awakening to all of these higher energies. This is almost like a spiritual awakening in the other direction, because it is an awakening to yourself. It is an awakening to your body. It is an awakening to being present in the earth reality, and realizing how much of a spiritual experience all that actually is. And so, like any type of spiritual awakening, they are often preceded by this void moment, because that's what and the longer the void moment goes on, that just tells you how profound this awakening actually is, and how much different your experience is going to be afterwards. So, yeah, I don't think I need to keep going on. I think that is the message. Just, you know why people always say it's important to do things that you enjoy? And when you're really stressed and when you're really trying to find the solution to the problem, you just want to keep thinking about the problem and you want to keep thinking for a solution. But you know how this is why some of you might be saying, I don't know, because you're thinking about the problem, you're trying to find a solution, but you just keep coming up blank because you've tried everything before and you can't think of anything new. And you know that in order to get somewhere new, you need to do something you've never done before. But how are you going to think of something you've never thought of before, especially if you've been working on this problem for decades and you've never come up with a solution? So the hardest thing to do in that moment is to pry the mind off of your problem. You need to pry your mind kicking and screaming, even if your mind has like lockjaw, to pry your mind off of the problem and do something you enjoy. And why is it important to do things that you enjoy? Because that is how you refresh yourself. That is how you reinvigorate yourself. And that is actually where you find novel solutions. Because whatever your problem is, it's not going to be fixed by doing the same old thing. You need a novel solution. And to get a novel solution, you need to be in an exploratory space. You need to be in a relaxed, contented, exploratory and curious type of space. And as you explore these new things in that place of being fairly contented, or at least happy enough, right? Or at least distracted, right? If you're at least distracted and you're exploring new things and hopefully you enjoy these new things, that is where you find the novel solution, right? That is where you find the novel solution. You will never find the novel solution by thinking for the 10 millionth time what the solution is. You're not going to find the solution when you're just trying really hard to think of the solution. You have to relax and distract yourself and go do something you enjoy, and then watch and wait with open curiosity and look for inspiration and look for novel ideas. That is where you can actually come to this solution, right? And it will come through the, as you awaken to this new version of your experience. So, yeah. That's where we're at, guys. Sending you so much love and light, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.